Куда идете?
Все узнают, что на самом деле творится в бункере.
Let me tell you, you've never seen a movie quite like this, but it will seem strangely familiar at the same time. We are talking about the movie Tournament of Death, which comes out by High Flyer Entertainment on the 7th of August 2017. Originally known as Dance of Death, however, and that's actually the English translation. This is actually a Russian film. I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce the Russian way of saying it because it would just be embarrassing. And this one is directed by Andrei Vlogin. And there's an easy pitch for this one. This one is very easy to describe, kinda. Basically, this is The Hunger Games meets Step Up. That's pretty much your equation to make this film. So it is set in a kind of dystopian future, basically, in a kind of a post-apocalyptic type kind of like feeling, basically. So the world is completely destroyed. We're told at the beginning there's war, and then there's kind of the environmental disasters after that, and basically the world now is at the brink of collapse. And there's this kind of one sort of large city which is kind of the last bastion of human hope, basically, and they kind of stave off any kind of further disasters by sacrificing people to the kind of to make energy to keep this kind of like last human bastion in one piece. And how they do that is they basically ask for volunteers to essentially sacrifice themselves and in a dance-off. Yes, you've heard me right, a dance-off, and this creates energy that apparently the world will be able to kind of use for reasons. Anyway, of course, there's very few volunteers, so they end up rounding people up kind of against their will, and ultimately it tells a story of a group of kind of young people who are thrown together and have to face one another in dance or death situations. Of course, there is other kind of things going along. It ends up getting a little bit kind of Game of Thrones in regards to some kind of political kind of movements kind of behind the scenes here. We get a lot of that as well. So, what do I think about this film? Like I said, it's a very interesting film. I don't remember quite seeing a premise quite like it, although it's so reminiscent of the Hunger Games. I mean, even to the fact where you have this kind of like little hand sign that they do and stuff like that in kind of to show solidarity, just like the Hunger Games. And there's certain things that play just like straight out of that film. So it's very, very influenced by it. And I would say, although I say it's kind of Hunger Games meets Step Up, it's more or less, I would say it's more like the Hunger Games meets Dance Dance Revolution, because they're competitive dancing. So on the positives of this film has some pretty impressive production value. It's a Russian film, first and foremost, so be prepared for some subtitles, obviously. But it looks like there's some money been put in behind this. The actual production design here is truly beautiful, actually. There's some really kind of like great world building. I mean, the look of this world looks fantastic, and it's a very kind of over stylized thing. So there's a lot of slow-mo in this. And we kind of see these kind of like radioactive storms, and if a little ember touches you, you essentially kind of disintegrate in a kind of radioactive mess, basically. So it's pretty violent as well. There are actually action sequences. I mean, if you swapped out the dance sequences for fights, you'd pretty much literally just have the Hunger Games, I'll be honest. But the production design is great. It's a good-looking cast. I think the effects here look pretty good. It's very, like I say, it's taken seriously. So although this is like a sort of a bit of a silly premise, they kind of take it very, very seriously. And there are some kind of quite violent scenes, and some difficult to tell on the acting, because obviously I can't understand the language, so it's hard for me to tell really if they're good actors. But they seem to be putting good performances. The face acting, the kind of the emoting, it all seems pretty good to me. I mean, it's a young cast. I don't know any of the names, but I'm assuming they're Russia's hottest talent. So that was all quite good. And although the there are dance scenes splattered through this. There are other action scenes as well. There's a kind of nice amount of action here, and some really decent special effects here. I was very impressed. On the downside of this film, considering this is meant to be a dance to the death thing, the dance scenes to me don't seem overly impressive. I've got to be honest. They literally look like someone's playing Dance Revolution. The dance scenes are kind of like infused with visual effects, basically. But the dancing seems all right, but nothing that will blow your socks off, to be honest with you. And kind of when you've seen, 6 matches throughout the film, you kind of, yeah, okay, it's not really that interesting anymore. And I've got to say, the premise itself is maybe just a tad silly, and thinking, come on, this is really a flimsy excuse to kind of have this kind of like strange kind of setup and stuff like that. And it does drag in places from here and there. But overall, like I said, if you're a fan of Hunger Games and you're a dance fan, you're going to love this film. It's got everything you're going to want in it. So you might want to check it out. And even just for the visual style, I think it's a very kind of fun world. They've got this kind of like cool looking kind of stormtrooper type kind of police here that all look quite badass. And there are shootouts, there are fist fights. It does have multiple plot threads. So it's a fairly fleshed out film, but it's just a bit of a silly premise, to be honest. I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10 though. I think it's quite fun. I had a good time with it. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.